The reality is that AEW is no longer the place that everybody's going to want to be, especially with Triple H turning it up a notch with WWE. Obviously, people are going to consider going back to WWE. This is why talent have gone back to WWE. This is why people like William Regal have gone back to WWE. However, one thing that's really interesting is the topic of FTR, and now they are speaking out, and more specifically, Dax Harwood is speaking out about this, and I thought this was a very interesting story, considering the fact that FTR went to AEW to essentially get away from WWE. They wanted to see better within the tag team division. They wanted to see better within booking. I mean, they just wanted an overall better experience. And I think a lot of people looked at FTR as somebody who would get that experience in AEW. And here's the truth. This is the reality. While AEW is a great place for people to get work and find work, there are some holes in their game. And this is why I'm very intrigued to see what happens with FTR, because now Dax Harwood is talking about this, and this is really big considering that they are expected to become free agents reportedly in April 2023. Now, Dax Harwood has a new podcast, and this is really interesting because he talked a little bit about Cody Rhodes, and in the beginning, he initially talked about some of his issues that he had with Cody Rhodes, and look, he was pretty blunt about this. But nonetheless, he goes on to say some positive things. He thinks that Cody Rhodes is a visionary. He says, I think he is too smart for his own good, and I hope to be able to work with him very, very soon because, I think I could tear it up with him. Now, this is really interesting considering the fact that Cody Rhodes is not in AEW, and the likelihood of Cody Rhodes going back to AEW is very, 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 very slim, and obviously that makes sense considering the fact that he signed a multi-year deal with WWE. Now, Cody Rhodes is obviously sidelined with an injury, and it looks like he could be recovering soon. But if FTR is interested in tearing it up with Cody Rhodes, one has to wonder how this could all go down. Now, if I'm the WWE, I would absolutely bring in the Revival. I'd bring in FTR. I would call them FTR. I would make sure that FTR is at the forefront of the tag team division. And obviously, WWE has had some key returns for the tag team division. There seems to be a pretty big emphasis on the tag team division these days. So ultimately, FTR coming back to WWE could be really big. What I would do if I were WWE, I would have FTR as a surprise return. I think you got to do it the Cody Rhodes way. And, with WWE building factions and building groups, you got the Bloodline, the Judgment Day, Hit Row, Legado del Fantasma. I mean, the groups are absolutely there. There's a ton of groups in WWE. I think it could actually be really cool if FTR and Cody were to have their own little group as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. It's been a very interesting time period to watch FTR and how they've been acting on social media. I could see a very big possibility of going to WWE, especially when you consider the way they've been booked and the way that Tony Khan has kind of failed to make that tag team division exciting in this past year. Now, ultimately, AEW has always had an exciting tag team division, but it is something to keep in mind. I want to talk a little bit about Kris Statlander. Kris Statlander has confirmed that she is, in fact, not cleared yet. And obviously, the reason why we have to talk about this is because AEW is teasing a return, and this return or debut or mystery partner or whatever it may be has obviously often been speculated that it could be Kris Statlander. Now, Kris Statlander is a very interesting person on the AEW roster because I feel like if it wasn't for the injuries, Kris Statlander would be doing absolutely big things in the company. But unfortunately, she has become injury prone. And whether or not Tony Khan uses that as a way to not push somebody is something I'm very intrigued to find out, because I think it's very difficult to push a star when they constantly get injured, especially if you're going to put the championship belt on them. For a while, there was some very heavy rumors that Kris Statlander, when she last returned, was expected to get a massive push as part of the women's division. There were also some rumors that she could have been the one to dethrone Jade Cargill, and since nobody has done that yet, it's going to be very intriguing to see how AEW does go around this, because if Kris Statlander is not returning to AEW anytime soon, then you have to expect at some point AEW is going to have to make a decision as to who else they can push in the meantime. Now, right now, AEW's women's division is actually on fire. They're doing very, very good from the fan interest and viewership standpoint. Hikaru Shida, Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, Saraya. I mean, all of these people are doing an incredible job. And I think it's actually getting a lot of people happy about the prospect of AEW's women's division. But of course, with that, you still got to have more talent being introduced. And of course, with Kris Statlander being one of those notable names from before, you have to wonder if she is going to get that big time push anytime soon. I also want to point out that Kris Statlander is not only incredibly talented, but she is relatively unknown in the eyes of WWE fans, right? She hasn't been on WWE aside from like squash matches where she was an extra. So the cool thing is Kris Statlander in my eyes would be a homegrown star for AEW, which should be another incentive for Tony Khan to push her. At the end of the day, accidents happen, injuries happen. I don't want to see that to actually impact her. But the fact that she's not cleared yet is a little bit of a concern. And I want to turn our attention to our final story of the day, guys. This is very interesting. Remember Gillberg? Yeah, Gillberg, the Goldberg knockoff. Well, obviously the Royal Rumble is coming up, and the Royal Rumble is going to be a big deal for WWE. There's rumors that WWE could be doing 40-man and 40-woman Rumbles this year, which I think could make a lot of sense, right? It's the Triple H era. You're trying to make things with a big bang. You're trying to get people surprised. You're trying to get people excited about possible surprises. Well, I want to know to you guys. I want to know. Do you think Gillberg is a big enough surprise? Is this a surprise that you would like to see? Because Gillberg just recently did an interview with the Cheap Heat Productions podcast, and this man had said that he has not been invited by the WWE to return. However, he would love to be. He would really love to be invited in the Royal Rumble. And, here's the thing. Gillberg is a very, very interesting character, historically speaking, in WWE, WWF. But, it's kind of like what I said before in my videos. If you're going to do these surprise returns, I get it. You're going to get the cheap pop. You're going to get you're going to get fans excited and stuff. And that's obviously what makes it a great surprise. But when I look at Gillberg, I just don't know if I necessarily want to see Gillberg in the Royal Rumble compared to a Pro Wrestling Noah or New Japan Pro Wrestling wrestler. You know what I mean? And there's just so many talents that are rumored for the Royal Rumble. I previously talked about Chris Masters, so if you guys haven't watched that video, then now would be a good time to tell you why you should subscribe to the channel, because on days like this, every single day, I want to bring you guys wrestling news. All the news, rumors, reviews, all that good stuff. Guys, if you like finding out things that are happening behind the scenes in pro wrestling, this is the channel for you. But nonetheless, Gillberg, Chris Masters, right? There's a lot of talent teasing their returns. There's a lot of people who want to be in these returns. There's a lot of people who want that spotlight. Maybe they want the paycheck. I don't know what it is. But I just, I don't think any of those typical surprises that are just like legendary pops or whatever, I just don't think they're going to lead to any good storylines on television. And therefore, I find that they're kind of useless. But hey, the cool thing is Triple H's first Royal Rumble is definitely going to be big, especially with so many people being rumored to leave certain companies and join certain companies and all of these different things. I am definitely intrigued to see what goes down. As always, I want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below.